Joining me now is counterterrorism expert Khalid Hassan. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Khalid, we're hearing of documents found by the IDF proving large transfers of money, a total of about $154 million from Iran to Hamas. These documents are dated just, in 2020, not that long ago. How surprising is it that this large transfer of money was wired and transferred to Hamas with the constant meetings between Iran and Hamas taking place?
It's not surprising at all. I think people need to understand now that what we're looking at this alliance, if you will. And I think the question now is whether we're in this war of attrition, whether it's a Cold War, whether it's a war of attrition, or it's actually a full-scale war. It's hardly surprising. We know that Iran is allied with, We know that Iran is allied with China. We know that they're allied with Russia. We know that this is basically a war and an alliance against the West. So it's hardly surprising. I think what's most interesting for me is how those funds actually got there, because that's another challenge. And it's, like I said, it is an alliance that is being formed right now. And we can see, for instance, not long ago, there was an Algerian member of parliament saying and urging people to donate to Hamas, and saying that they have the people who are trustworthy and who can get the funds to Hamas. So again, we have a regional alliance now that is forming, and this is not surprising at all. I think what's really quite disturbing is how many people on our streets in London and Paris and everywhere are actually denying that this alliance exists.
Now, what would you say, what do you make of the international efforts to block this Iranian sponsoring of Hamas?
I think it's a little bit too late, to be honest. I think the challenge is what we have seen with President Biden is that he was very quick when he took over. He was very quick to overturn a few of the steps that the West has collectively taken. He was very quick to take the Houthis off the American U.S. designated terrorists list. And we've all seen this. Our allies have been saying this in the region for weeks and months and actually years. The UAE has been saying that you should not allow funds to get to the Houthis. He has been very reluctant. So I think it's a little bit too late, to be honest. And more needs to be done. We need to effectively designate all these organizations that are allied with Hamas and Iran as terrorist organizations, including the Muslim Brotherhood, if we are going to seriously disrupt this whole scheme of funding Hamas and funding Iran, essentially.
So how do you effectively tackle that?
You need serious sanctions. You need serious sanctions on organizations that continue to claim that they provide aid, that they continue to claim that they just collect donations to send people clothes or supplies. And this needs to happen from the West. It's not happening enough. And unfortunately, also, it's not happening, like I said, in many Arab countries like Algeria. This Algerian member of parliament should be under sanctions for actually going in Algerian parliament and saying that I'm going to send £1,000 and that's worth two Yasin rockets, which is basically the rocket that is being used by Hamas. We need to show them that we're going to take consequences. There are going to be consequences. We're going to take action against you if you fund Hamas or any of its allies or Iran.
Now, we know that Iran funds and arms their proxies. Can they control them, though? Can they control Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis?
Well, it depends. I mean, Hezbollah, they control definitely more than the Houthis, because the Houthis they're not, I wouldn't exactly describe them as a proxy. The Houthis are slightly more independent. Yes, they are reliant on an Iranian support, but they're slightly more independent, so it really varies. Hezbollah is essentially entirely controlled by Iran. The Houthis are slightly different, but generally speaking, it is Iran behind all this. And again, the argument that, they cannot control them, so it's not really Iran's fault, is really quite ridiculous. And we have also to understand and bear in mind that we have China now in Djibouti. Their only overseas base is in Djibouti, and that is another very serious threat. And we need to deal with these threats collectively as part of one major strategy.
Khalid Hassan, thank you very much for this input.
Thank you for having me.
And back in